Well, today we welcome a true thrash legend back to the show, Katon De Pena from Hirax. About 40 years ago, the debut Raging Violence came out, but it's 2025 and the brand new one, Faster Than Death, is here. Hey, Katon, welcome back to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. A little beat up from band rehearsal last night, but I'm good. Just excited, the new record's out and it's our 40th anniversary of the band's existence. So, real happy and excited and looking forward to the new year. I mean, it's gotten off to a hell of a start, with this record, and now it's time for us to go out on the road. So, excited.
Yeah. Well, we got tons of notes on the new one. You've been on the show before, so we're really not gonna do a recap on the whole Hyrax history. But I do have one question. The logo created by Tom G. Warrior.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome story. I mean, I've known Tom since Hellhammer. And we used to be pen pals back when that was a thing. Now everybody's on the internet, so they don't know what the hell pen
Yeah.
paling is. But it's, getting out a piece of paper, writing a letter, putting it in an envelope, and mailing it for like 2 weeks to get to Switzerland. And he would do the same. So me and Tom have been friends for quite some time. And even back then, we were some of the first tape traders when we were tape trading with Hyrax cassettes and Hellhammer cassettes. So, anyways, I sent him the demo when it first came out, the 4-track demo, and he liked it a lot, but he didn't like the logo. And
Okay.
I didn't realize he was an artist at the time. He still is an artist. He's a really good artist. And so he goes, "Listen, I'd like to design a logo for you if that's okay." And I was like, "Sure, give it a shot." I didn't know what he was gonna do, but he drew up the logo and sent it to me. And the interesting thing is when he sent it to me, he also sent me his new band, which was called Celtic Frost at the time.
Yep.
He sent me that logo as well. And he did both logos at the same time. So if you look at the Celtic Frost logo and you look at the Hyrax logo, there are some similarities in there. But yeah, he designed it, and we've been using it ever since he did back in 1984.
Now, 1985 metal has its roots in imagery. Back then the album cover was just as important. What was on the platter? How do
Yeah.
you feel? How do you feel that Hyrax logo helped the band back in the day? Helped you stand out?
Yeah, the logo is important because that's what recognizes you no matter what. Like, even once you go out and start playing live, usually you have the logo behind you as a band. So Tom did us a really big favor by making that. I didn't know that we'd still be using it 40 years later, but we still do, and it's a big part of our live show. And it's like the mascot, like how Iron Maiden has their mascot. A lot
Yep.
of bands have mascots, but our logo's our mascot, and it's readable. Not I'm not putting down a lot of other logos, because what happens even with the death metal logos, if you see them enough times, or even like a band like Cannibal Corpse, if you see that logo enough times, then you can identify the band. So I mean, we didn't know what branding was back in the day because we didn't have that word around, but I guess that's what they would call branding nowadays.
Sure. And we call those bands, no disrespect to their music, squiggly line bands. You know, you're right. And if you really look at it, Cannibal Corpse's logo is a little more mainstream
Oh
in the
yeah.
squiggly line band arena. So,
Yeah, nowadays it. But I remember when I first saw that logo, I thought, where's logos going? But no, they've gone further than that now. Like, now you have to see a logo 1,000 times to remember it. But I do like about the old days, especially the '80s. A lot of the logos were pretty damn memorable.
well, they're brands. Like you
Yeah,
said, you didn't know you were creating a brand back then.
yeah,
And, some of the most simplest logos, it's branding. Like look at Twitter, or
yeah,
not Twitter anymore, but McDonald's, the arches, all that. So,
yeah.
well, good stuff. Hey, well, before we get away from that subject, who else did you pen pal with?
Oh,
Was there
that's a good
anyone?
one. Well, yeah, I mean, back then it was awesome because it was brand new. It was like, seriously, the wild frontier. So this is gonna blow you away, but Quarthon from Bathory, he was one
Okay.
of the pen pals. Millie, they weren't even called Creator yet. I think they were called like Terrorizer. It wasn't Terrorizer. I always forget exactly what it was, but it was something with a T. Uh, but anyways, before they were called Creator, I used to pen pal with Millie, Tankard. I remember their first demo coming out, Destruction. I wrote to them. I was the first person to write to them from the United States. So yeah, Pen Pals, like all the major ones, and then we were already tape trading the basic stuff like the Metallica Kill 'Em All demo, and
Yep.
so I was around for all of that. Really cool
Yeah.
pen pals, though. I mean, people from all over the world, Canada, a lot of the Canadian bands like Slaughter and Sacrifice, who I still talk to this day, and even Nasty Savage. I've been friends with Nasty Savage since like 1984.
Oh, sure, sure. I come from that school. I'm up here in Rochester, New York, and we talked about this. The
Yeah,
Lakeshore Record Exchange, they were big on the tape trading. They
yeah,
had their fanzines, and I remember Ron Stein, that was the proprietor there. He would bring in all that stuff, and it's like, we're 13, 14 years old,
yeah,
and seeing Exciter. I remember Anvil, Metal on Metal. Of
yeah,
course, the Metallica guys coming to Rochester to do the album.
yeah,
We got our roots, but yeah, I remember looking in the back of like Circus and Hit Parader, and I never pen paled, but I would buy shirts,
yeah,
and you would see that. So that's the roots. That's awesome. And you know what? And we're gonna touch on this a little later about your passion. You could see in the background your record collection and your just what you get into. Well,
yeah.
let's get into that. Tell us about that. You outside of fronting Hirax and being a performer, you're an avid vinyl collector, but also a DJ.
Yeah.
What is all this about?
Well, as a kid, I didn't even realize when I was younger that I was already doing that stuff. DJing was already, I think you were doing it. A lot of people don't realize they were doing it. Like if you had friends over your house and you
Yeah.
were playing them records, you were actually DJing. Then it got to a bigger thing later on for me. I started working in nightclubs and doing all kinds of, radio shows and I just started doing more events, but it started out at a very young age. I always loved records from the moment I got into them. My dad was a record collector, so I kind of got that habit from him. And then my brother also collected records. My brother was like the guy that got me into the heavier stuff. And so I think that happens with a lot of people. It's like generational. A lot of it's passed down, or you have a friend who's got a cool brother who's got a turntable, and you learn from that. But my passion stayed intact just because I really love music, and it's not just for me. I'm a musician, but I'm also a fan, and I think that's a good thing to always remember, especially if you are a musician. Don't forget about the fans. And I started going to concerts at a very early age. I saw Sabbath when I was 15.
What
So I mean,
tour?
I saw him on the Never Say Die tour, the last tour before they broke up. And Van Halen was the support act. The first Van Halen album had just come out, so I got a good dose of rock and roll.
Where'd you see that show?
I
California?
saw, yeah, dude, I'll never forget it because especially when you're young, those things make a big impression on you. 1978, Anaheim Stadium, where the California Angels, now they're called the Los Angeles Angels, which is still
Yeah.
weird for me.
Uh-huh.
Weird for me to say that because I'm a Southern California kid. But saw them at Anaheim Stadium where the Angels play. The headliner was Boston,
Yep, yep.
then it was Black Sabbath, then it was Van Halen. First album just came out. And then the opening act, which is funny because he ended up being in the band later on, was Sammy Hagar. He opened the
Yep.
show. So yeah, that was my first big show.
That's awesome. That's my favorite band of all time. And you've probably seen online in the last 2 or 3 weeks all this Van Halen stuff that's dropped.
Yeah, it's
This,
amazing. It's
yeah,
amazing. And they're dropping a lot of the footage from when I saw them. So for me, it's even more like where I'm like, awesome. If you see footage from '78, but there's even some really great stuff from 1980. They were really on fire, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they were great up until probably I mean, I'm kind of like it's like Bon Scott with David Lee Roth.
yeah.
The David Lee Roth years were fantastic. So, but I would say for me, I saw him in '78, and it was groundbreaking for me to see a band like that. And
Oh, sure.
they're amazing. But that stuff that's dropping now, it's almost like I don't know if Alex is okaying it or maybe he's dropping it for a reason because I think there should be some kind of a live album from those early years.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Well, it's gone already. It's off. Warner Brothers got involved. It's gone. It's not
Wow.
on. It's not on YouTube anymore.
So they're
It's
pulling it.
Yeah, yeah. It was Noel Monk had tons of this stuff, and there's a lot of like in this footage we're talking about, listeners. It was like they had the entire B-roll stock footage of when they were shooting the Panama video. So it
Wow.
was 2 hours of B-roll, and you could see a lot of it. There's I don't know what those movie things, those clapboards are called,
Yeah,
but it
yeah, yeah.
has all the information on it. You see the production company, they did the same thing for the Jump video. But a lot of this handheld 8 millimeters from like the 78 Japan tour.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh, this is priceless.
Yeah.
We'll talk after the interview. I'll let you know what I can
Yeah.
do for you on that. But yeah, my brother got me into all of it. He's 4 years older. I remember first time I had a chance to see him was Fair Warning, 81.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That'd be
My
a good
pop, oh, yeah, the pinnacle, I think. But you
yeah.
know, my pops, God rest his soul, he said you can't go to shows until you're 13. So,
Yeah. I
so
get it.
my
That was a rule back in the day. I just got lucky. I was 15, and but I understand where the parents are coming from because that was the wildest shit I had seen in my life at that time. I was at a concert with a bunch of partiers and Black Sabbath fans, and back in the day, Black Sabbath fans were pretty intimidating, you know.
uh-huh.
So yeah, it was, I got lucky, and that kind of inspired me more. Like seeing Van Halen with Sabbath was the gateway, and I never looked back. I just got more and more into music.
You subscribe to the fact that Halen blew him off the stage?
Yeah, but Sabbath still were damn good, even though they were, high as a kite on drugs and pretty much kind of falling apart. But even at they're not their best, they were still a damn good band. Like
Yeah.
I get it, Van Halen were the new thing. They were young. It was kind of like, before Metallica, that's what Van Halen were. Like, they were a powerhouse band. I mean, they had everything in that arsenal that you need. Michael
Yep.
Anthony on bass, which is funny because when you start running down the band members of that band, but Michael Anthony is like the hidden weapon. And then you
Yep.
got Roth in his prime. People can say whatever they want about David Lee Roth, but in his prime, he was one of the most badass performers and vocalists. People try to downplay his vocals, but dude, nobody screams like Roth. Nobody. And so,
No.
and then you got Alex. He's basically his brother's rhythm. Like Alex is incredible too. I don't think Alex gets enough credit because Eddie was such a phenomenal talent, but
Yeah.
Alex is an amazing drummer. So that band, they're like a lot of the bands that we love now. They're before them, And so opening for Sabbath when Sabbath had already been going for many years. I mean, you got to remember they're probably pretty burnt by that time. I mean, all that partying and all that touring, but Sabbath were still very good. I mean, I get it though. Van Halen were on fire, literally. I mean, they have the song on fire, but they were on fire.
Well, they open with On Fire.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but Katon, if you really think about it, as we get older and these years disappear like weeks, when was the first Sabbath? 1970?
Yeah, yeah,
And by this time, that's only 8 years. And that all that classic Sabbath came out in 8 years.
yeah,
It's nothing.
yeah,
Now 8 years, Metallica release an album every 8 years.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so but
So
go ahead.
a lot of those bands are, that's the sad thing. A lot of those bands were way ahead of their time. They were releasing 2 albums a year, some of those bands. Even AC/DC, the Bon
Yep.
Scott years, a lot of those, I think they did a couple of records, like two, where they did two drops in 1 year. And 2 or 3 years they did that. And so you got bands like that were phenomenal in their release of records. So I don't even know if that'll ever be done again. That bands are really, even Zeppelin released a couple albums at a time, so.
Well, you also had the limitations. How much could you put on an album and that whole debate? All killer, no filler. Because if
Yeah,
you got 40 minutes on a platter, you're
yeah,
not going to have. So that's what makes it the golden age, man. The
yeah,
70s and the 80s.
yeah. It's
Well,
beautiful.
we can talk that all day. Maybe that's another show, but we're here, to talk about Faster Than Death. So
Yeah,
you're the band's first album in what, 10 years, something like that?
Yeah, at
Uh,
least 10 or 11 years. Which there's a lot behind that, which people do need to know because it's pretty interesting what happened in that time frame. But yeah, it's the first record in like 11 years, due to a lot of circumstances. Like we are an underground band, and we're pretty damn proud of that. But touring takes a lot. A lot of people don't realize we toured a lot during even that 10-year break of the albums, where we're able to go to places that a lot of bands don't go. We go to South America and we spend quite a bit of time there. And those records get around. Like even for me, it's still amazing when we release these records how they end up going to places like Russia and the Czech Republic and all over the world. Japan, Southeast Asia. So your music gets out to these places that I never even thought I'd see. And so to be able to travel doing that, it takes time. But also with me, is like you said, you even brought it up. Less, you want no filler. A lot of the records, if you don't put time into them, that's why a lot of bands end up releasing some bad records because usually they're trying to rush the records, and I think that's probably the worst move you can make. I mean, I get that people want more output, they want more music, but if you're just putting out shitty music, that the fans don't want that, and they don't deserve that. They really deserve good stuff, good packaging, not just the music itself, but the packaging for the record. All that should come together. So this record now is the perfect timing, and also it was written during the early days of the pandemic when we were all going through a lot of different shit and a lot of different changes in the world. So yeah, I couldn't be happier. Like it's funny. It did take a while, but this record was, it's been worth the wait because it's a powerful record. It's a sledgehammer.
well, it's not that long, about 22 minutes, but over the course of the last couple of years, you released the EP with like 4 songs,
Yeah.
released a single, then you came back with the full length.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that?
Pretty awesome. All right, so we get this tour of Europe, and it's like a 3-week tour, but the record's not ready yet. So we decide we should drop a European EP. It's kind of a tribute to the old days, like the 80s. A lot of bands would put out EPs. I mean, you name it, everybody did it. Even Motley Crue had this single called Toast of the Town.
Yep.
Rat had their first 4, it was like a 4-song EP. Armored Saint, even if you look back at them, they had EPs. So we figured for this tour, we need to get some kind of product out that the kids can get. And it's really rare because the difference between the album and the EP is that those tracks were mixed and produced by Bill Matoyer, the EP. The full-length album is actually Max Norman, who came in at a great time. It's kind of an interesting story because Max Norman's been notorious for saving albums, and he saved ours. We were having problems getting it done, and I was like, who's out there? And Max Norman's somebody that I've looked up to for years because he did a lot of the records that I love. He did the first 2 Ozzy Osbourne records.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't know this. He saved those records too. He was brought in to finish those records because there were problems with those. So basically the same thing happened with our record, but the timing was good for to release it as a 4-song EP first. And then now with this new year and a whole new scheme of touring, we're going to be touring a lot. So to have this record done in time for that is perfect. But the other thing was too, we didn't want to have any filler tracks on it. So that's another reason it's shorter, but also the songs are hard hitting and it's straight in your face, which Hirax is pretty known for. I wanted to make sure the fans got something that they would expect us to do.
Yeah, you're in, you're out, and you're making your statement. And a lot of what's going on in 2024, 2025, it's bands are releasing 1 or 2 singles rather than a full length to take a couple more bites off the apple, if you will. It's keep your name out there.
Yeah, well, I think that fans are also a little bit more short attention span. If you give them a real long record, it's like, for one, it better be incredible. And that's not that easy to do. Like writing a 56-minute record, there's going to be some filler tracks unless you're just prolific. And there's not really, it takes time. Even if you're going to be prolific, you're going to have to look at each song. And so I think the reason people are doing almost like a half an album or maybe a little bit more than half an album. It's just that they can get more quality control and make the songs better. And I think that's really mandatory, especially in this day and age of computers and the internet.
It's, it's old when it's released.
Yeah,
It's
and you can flip real quick. Like if you're on your computer, you can listen to fucking 30 bands in seconds. You can just click over. And so you got to make really good songs, and they got to make a statement, like you said. They got to come at you real quick, especially in metal. And metal fans are also very like they only have so much time, and their attention span's pretty short too. So it better be good.
Yeah, and let's admit it. What we do here, our mission statement is we're a bridge, old school to new school. Teach the old school guys about new bands, vice versa. Young bands, young audiences, how it used to be.
Yeah,
It's today we're talking to you. Yesterday was Chris Slade, AC/DC fame. A
that's
couple weeks ago it was Bastard Skull.
that's
Old
all.
guys, old guys with a new band. It's
Yeah.
so all right, so the album kicks off with Drill Into the Brain. What made this the perfect opener? Is it obvious?
Yeah, it just comes right at you. There's a drill bit going on in the beginning of this record, and it was just one of those songs. Like when we were listening back to the tracks, we're like, "That's got to be the opener." It's a great song for an opener. And then also, personally, on a personal note, that song was inspired by "One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest." A lot of people don't know that, but I'm a big Jack Nicholson fan, and
Okay.
so it was inspired by that movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So it's got a nice story behind it.
How'd you do the drill? Little homage to Eddie Van Halen and Pound Cake
Yeah,
is
yeah, that for sure. And also, lobotomies. That was like one of the oldest, cruelest treatments for insanity. And so the drill is kind of a tribute to lobotomies. I
okay.
know it sounds pretty heavy, but more people that if they learn about it, they'll be like, "Wow, we didn't know that they used to drill into people's brains." So
The title track, Faster Than Death. What does this mean to you?
well, especially during the pandemic, we saw so much crazy stuff. We're like, you better live now.
Mhm.
I think it's really, and it's also as you get older, and I think even for younger people, they need to realize, embrace every moment of life. And that's pretty much what Faster Than Death's about. Like, while you're here, love all your friends, love everything you do, whatever you're into. I don't care if it's, collecting stamps, but be into it, be in the moment. And a lot of people don't do that. They think they're going to live forever, and you got to be faster than death.
Yeah, yeah, great, man. That's a great motto. And I've lost a couple friends in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
We're at this age where, oh man, that guy passed. He's sick. It's like, what the
Yeah,
hell?
and I think also when you're older, it hits you more. When you're younger, you don't really understand yet. So, and you do lose people when you're young, but it doesn't hit you the same. Once you get older and you've lived and you've gone some places in life and met some really good people. Like also, people got to remember when you're older, that means your friends you've had for a decade or two. So those people mean a lot more to you.
Yeah,
And in the metal community, especially, we've all lost some people. So you just start appreciating each other more. Like I appreciate you because I've known you for years now. Like the more
mhm.
you get to know people, they mean more to you. So yeah, you got to live, and especially if you're into music, because to me, music's a celebration of life. It really is.
Sure.
Like
It's
we're lucky that we even get to listen to music. Like that I get up in the morning, I can put on some music in my headphones and work out or whatever. I am grateful for that. So yeah, you got to live faster than death, and because we're all heading for that, whether we want to admit it or not, we got to enjoy life.
yeah, you're right. You talked about lobotomies and old school. The track, uh, psychiatric ward has an old school vibe crossover to it.
Yeah,
Um, is that on point? Am I
yeah.
safe
I
to
mean,
assume that?
yeah. No, you're totally on point. Like the great thing about this record too that I'm really proud about is like we've had amazing reviews. But at the same point, like no matter what, and this is something that younger musicians need to know, there's gonna also be some bad reviews. Like no matter who you are, no matter how great you are. For me, it's easy because I grew up on bands like Sabbath. Sabbath was totally they had some of the worst reviews in the history of rock when they came out. But
Hmm.
the thing is, normally it's people that don't understand what you're doing. Like for us, it's great. The people that get it are just blown away. But like if you're into like newer metal or you want like, and I'm talking NU metal, you might not understand where Hyrax is coming from. But our whole point of what we do is we are an old school band. We're very proud of that.
Yeah.
And I think that the people that buy our records know that.
Did you subscribe to some of that metal 15, 20, 25 years ago? Did you find something in that scene that you could grasp? Because I really didn't. Maybe it
No,
was the time, maybe it's the time of my life. I was raising young kids and nothing
no,
got me.
I think it's, we're old school and we're pretty damn proud of that. Not that
Yeah.
that music, I wouldn't say the music sucked. It just didn't hit us the way that like growing up on Motorhead and AC/DC and even the thrash metal bands that there's a lot of great thrash metal bands and they're from all over the world. So
Yes.
we had a plethora. We had like a plate that was unending full of, if you were going to an all you could eat buffet, we had bands from Japan, we had bands from Texas, we had bands from, all every corner of the world. And it was stellar. Like even if you look at the early demos, Overkill, amazing. There are bands like Hollow's Eve,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a band called Wargasm from Boston, from Boston. They're amazing. So we had a lot of great stuff. Um, but the newer stuff, I think the problem I have with it is I've always liked real guitars and I like great guitar tones and I like real drums. And not that all of them are using fake shit, but some of it's overproduced. But
Yeah.
there were some great bands. I think if you look through there are going to be some bands that were great. We were on tour in Argentina and we had a night off, so we went and saw this band called Children of Bodom and or Bodom, Children
Children
of
of Bodom.
yeah,
Late Alexi. The
yeah,
guy Alexi just passed.
and they were pretty damn good. So I'm saying that in each whatever decade, there's going to be some bands that are better than others.
Well, it goes back to the age you were and let's admit it. When you're younger, you have time to invest in the music and it hits you at a time of your life where you remember it. And
Totally.
Kate, our bands are old friends.
Yeah,
That's what these bands are. They're old friends. And when, you listen to them, it's like, you know what? I'll get on my soapbox a little bit. When people say, oh, yeah, I used to like them.
yeah,
Well, you don't like them anymore?
yeah. That's crazy.
It's like, oh, yeah, I used to listen. I used to like Iron Maiden.
Nah,
Oh, you don't like Number of the Beast anymore?
that's because
Well,
I think it's because we're lifers. Like that's the other thing with metal. We're pretty loyal.
yeah.
That especially once you get to go outside of the U.S. Like I love the U.S. and there's a lot of amazing fans all through the U.S. But when you go to Europe, you start realizing it's like religion. Same with South America. They love their metal so much and they don't forget. Like a band like Hirax that's been around for 40 years goes to South America, they act like we're brand new. So I think, it just depends on where you're from, what decade you were born in. But I mean, we're open minded. If it's a good band, I'll check them out. I have no problem with that.
Oh,
But I still feast on a lot of old school shit. Like when you bring up Iron Maiden, everything from Number Beast to the first album to me is a masterpiece and it's a blueprint for heavy metal.
oh, uh, it's
It's like
Maiden.
it's like bringing up UFO. I mean,
Uh,
you can't get enough for that band.
no, it's awesome. On this one, you did a remake of Warlord's Command.
Yeah,
What's the thinking behind that? It's a 22-minute platter, and you're doing a
yeah.
redo of an old song. Why?
Well, I knew that 40 years was coming up for Raging Violence, our first album, and I kind of wanted to make people to look back at that too. Like you should always remember what's got you to where you're at. Like it's great that we've been around for 40 years, but I'm still very proud of the first two albums. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
proud of everything we've done, but those records set the table. Like we brought up Maiden or even Sabbath, those first couple albums set the table and then you go from there. So Warlord's Command is a tribute to the first album. Just want people to remember that we haven't forgotten where we came from. I think when they listen to this new Faster Than Death record, anyways, it becomes quite apparent from the first notes what we're trying to do. And it's really great that the record's being received the way it's been received because it's only been out a week. So to see it popping up on playlists, like we don't make records for the radio, we make records for us. But when they end up on the radio, we're pleasantly surprised. So to see that the record's getting on playlists all over the world and the reviews have been really, really good. And so, yeah, man, it's a new era for us, but we also did Warlord's Command to also hark back to the old days as well.
Mhm. Now, there was a break between recorded material, but the band was on hiatus for many reasons.
Yeah,
What was it that brought you back to where you're like, you know what? I'm going to get a new band together and do this again.
yeah,
What
yeah.
what brought you back?
Well, I wasn't even planning on doing it. Years ago, it's kind of interesting. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she's like, she found a bunch of letters. Like, I still had fan mail, which that nowadays everybody talks about emails, but I had boxes of fan mail for Hirax. And my wife was going through my closet and found them. And she's like, "Why aren't you doing this?" And I said, "That's a long time ago." But she's like, "No, you should probably do it again." There's people, she read the letters, and a lot of the letters, they're heartfelt. Like music helps people get through a lot in life. That's probably one of the main reasons I came back is it's really awesome when you have kids come up to you and tell you what your records have done for them, like getting through hard times. Because I've got records like that for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I listen to if I listen to say Ace of Spades to this day, I can remember riding in a car or being in a parking lot at a gig playing that record in the parking lot drinking a beer.
Yep.
So, like for me, Hyrax has become more than just music. It's part of people's lives. So I've had plenty of people tell me that over the years. I started the band again, and it became even more where we would be on the road, and kids would just tell me these just amazing stories. Well, I'll tell you one real quick. This is how heavy it gets. Is we were in Spain, and we were playing, and before the show, some kids came up, and one of them had, well, most of them always have denim jackets on and vests and patches. But this kid said, "I'm wearing this denim vest because my brother, it was his. And the last time he had this on, he got in an accident leaving one of your concerts and he died."
Oh wow.
That was heavy. Like I'm standing there and he's wearing his brother's vest as a tribute. He said, "I'm here because my brother would have been here if he was still alive because he always would come see Hyrax when you guys would come through Spain." So I was like, that just hit me so hard, like, that people care that much to even carry on a tradition, a family tradition to come see us. So that's always what's made me keep doing this. The fans, I can't say that enough. And that they keep buying the records and coming to the concerts, that keeps me going. And
Sure.
it's not easy. I'm 61 years old, but I do it because I love it,
Yeah, it's ironic you say that because I look at pictures and I see you. You have a strong social media presence, and yeah, you're up on stage, and yeah, sure, the adrenaline's getting you going, but it's hard. You're
Brutal.
61. It's hard, but
Brutal.
but let me ask you this: it's the what you get, your objective for doing this has changed. So you're getting out of it. Let's admit it here. No one's getting rich doing this, but
No.
but but you're getting rich in these interactions, and it's just like at the end of the day, I own a business that for 30 years that pays my bills. But
Yeah.
what we do here at Metal Mayhem ROC, this is my passion, and
Yeah.
it's conversations like this. This is our payment. Maybe you
Yeah.
get some free music, some tickets.
Yeah.
So, what other aspects out of Hyrax 2.0 are you getting out of this that's rewarding?
Well, for one, taking musicians that, have never seen the world, it's huge to me. Like, I've been traveling with this band for the last 26 years, easy, before that, but in the last 26 years, massively more than I have ever. And so when you also take musicians that have never traveled to, say, South America or to Europe, crossing the channel into England, just those experiences right there are payment. Like I
Yeah.
never thought I would see some of the stuff that I've seen. I've been to the catacombs under churches in Lima, Peru, So these are huge payments, and obviously nobody's getting rich doing underground thrash metal, but you have to have the passion and the love for it. And you know, there's a lot of things. It's mainly I get to see the world. I get to meet the most awesome fans. Like the fans are unbelievable. I mean, their stories of traveling 8 hours just to come see us play. You know, some of the stuff they do is I'm like, I can't believe you got on a bus and then you got on a train and you traveled 8 to 10 hours to come see us play. So, you know, those are the things that unless you don't have a heart, which I have a big ass heart,
Yeah.
you can't help but keep doing this. And I love the fans. And the music is still my passion too, because it's what I grew up on. So it's like food to me. Playing music is like food. It really
Sure.
is.
Now, you mentioned over in Europe a lot of these festivals, like the Waken Festival, Sweden Rock, Hellfest, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Are you ever amazed when you do some of these shows and some of your contemporaries, you run into them, or maybe you're eating with them and catering or something, where maybe they come up, hey, Kate, now how are you, man? You're great, and you're like, fuck, I didn't even think this guy one
Yeah.
remembered me or
Yeah.
had to share
I'm,
some of those. Who's someone that came up to you and you're like, right on, that you would say to your wife afterwards, honey, check this
yeah.
shit out, blah blah
I'm
blah.
I'm pleasantly surprised, and it's really cool because unless you're like a dick, how can you not be blown away by some of your contemporaries or even people that you totally respect what they do musically? And it happens quite a bit. The festivals are awesome because a lot of times we're playing with bands that are even way bigger. You
Yeah.
know, literally, I almost ran into Gene Simmons. We were playing in I think it was Belgium. We were in Belgium, and Gene Simmons has his band now because Kiss retired. But
Yeah.
uh, to see him in the same dining hall, this is one of the guys that made me want to play music. So these experiences are insane. A lot of times you're just like, this is insanity, because you can't believe you're looking around the room and there's like UFO over there and there's like Kiss over there. Guys like Gene Simmons, other bands that you love. It's always a family get together when we see bands like Exodus. We've known those guys for 40 years.
Sure.
Death Angel, all those bands. So a lot of the Bay Area bands, when we see them, it's almost like a reunion. So
Like a high school reunion. Yeah.
yeah. And so,
Yeah.
you end up seeing a lot of bands and musicians that you respect, but sometimes it's more, I'm surprised by some of the bands that like us that they're not even from the same genre of music. There's a guy named Danko Jones, really cool guy. He's come to,
Canadian.
yeah, he's come to see us and say hello. And to me, that's just so awesome that he's such a good person like that. And he likes different styles of music. There's a band called Rancid. Their guitar player Lars, he's a fan and he's a really awesome guy, and I respect his music too. So it's just really cool when you have other musicians that enjoy your music and you enjoy theirs as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm more blown away by bands that aren't in the same genre. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one thing to see guys that are metal bands that that's awesome, but when it's somebody that's from a different genre, that's really mind blowing to me.
Did you talk to Gene?
No, it was funny. Well, he's a character. I mean, obviously, if you've seen Gene Simmons, he's a total character. And I'll be real with you, he really is a rock star. Like, you'll see rock star musicians, but nah, this dude is serious. Like, when I ran into him, he was coming out of the door and he was also twirling a girl, like dancing with a girl on the way to, he was, I guess, leaving to go to his tour bus, but he was saying goodbye to everybody. And
Yeah.
I just came in. It was a weird timing issue where I was just coming into the dining hall and he was leaving, and we just right at the door at the same time. But that was good enough for me. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
fucking Gene Simmons.
We saw that tour last summer.
All
They
right.
play, he has his money bags company, and they do soda pop.
Okay.
And the bottlers are up here in Niagara Falls, about an hour away from me. So they had a show at this
Wow.
old theater, and it was a benefit show to renovate the theater. And we went and saw the show. And Katon, this was awesome because what it was wasn't like all deep cuts from like Revenge or anything like that. It was crowd participation. So like they opened with Deuce and then they went into like War Machine or something, but
Yeah.
then they stopped and he started talking to the crowd and he got kids up on stage and he's like, all right, house lights, let's get you and you and you. And he would get all these kids on stage and then he'd get their parents and he was teaching them. Ended up 15 minutes later, they're singing background to I Love It Loud.
That's
And
awesome.
it was sort of like that interaction, but
Yeah.
yeah, Gene's a cool. I met him at a grocery store here. He was doing an in-store for the soda pop. So
Wow, that's crazy.
it was cool, and I'm friends with the guys that do the soda pop with him. So
Yeah, he's definitely a character. There's no doubt about that.
um let's see. There was something else I was gonna ask you, but um anyways, so you mentioned Exodus. You're playing
Yeah.
dates with them, 40 years for Bonded by Blood.
Yeah.
Um,
That's an interesting show. What's great is like I've known Gary for, the first time we played in San Francisco, we played in Berkeley at this place called Ruthie's Inn. And seriously,
mhm.
talk about having like where you had to play your A game because in front row at that show, first time we ever played it there was Gary Holt, Cliff Burton, and James Hetfield watching us play. So I go way back with Gary Holt, and then fast forward 40 years later, I get this message. He's like, "Hey, we're playing in L.A., basically Anaheim, which is right where Disneyland is. There's a place called the House of Blues." He's like, "Listen, we're doing this 40th anniversary for the Bonded by Blood record. Do you guys want to play?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man. For one, you called. Gary, he's one of the few people that can actually call me, and I'm like, right away, what do you need to do? He's just a great guy. I've known him for years, and so
Sure.
we're gonna do this show. It's gonna be great for everybody to see something like they're gonna do the whole Bonded by Blood record in its entirety. We're gonna do some of the new stuff and a lot of the old stuff. So it's already sold out, which is great. They're doing two shows out here, one up in Berkeley and one in Anaheim, and they're both sold out. So to be a part of it's great, and it also shows that whole camaraderie that we have with our music scenes out here. The California bands, try to stick together, and it's going to be a great night.
I don't recall, but were you part of that Adam Dubin Murder in the Front Row documentary from a few
I have,
years ago?
I don't think have I seen it? I mean, there's so many documentaries. Like, if somebody would have told me there'd be this many documentaries on thrash metal, I would have told them, get out of here. But
You you got it. It's Adam Dubin, filmmaker. Adam works with the Metallica guys. The name of his company is Murder in the Front Row Productions.
all
Well,
right,
he did the documentary on everyone's in it. Well, obviously, not everyone because
yeah,
but
I
it's the total scene, the total Ruthie's in the Warfield, all those other places, all those guys, all those people. You got to watch it. You got
yeah,
to watch it tonight.
I might have seen it. It's just been a while if I have. But what's cool is we're intertwined. Like, even though we're from LA, Hirax is, it's kind of almost like our second home, the Bay Area. So we're intertwined in that scene, and so many great friends up there. I mean, it's ridiculous how many great bands have come out of there. But Adam, what's funny, it's interesting you would bring that up. A lot of people don't know this. He's been working on a Metallica documentary for at least the
Yeah,
last 10 years. And
yeah.
recently he was out here and he had me come out to Culver City, and there's a film studio that he brought me into. And I spoke because there's a section in the movie that I did for the new Metallica documentary.
He did it with me too. He
Yeah, he
came to
knows his stuff.
he came to Rochester. We had Kirk on the show uh October of 23 to we had I'll send you the link to this. We had on the second chair engineer and the fifth member of Metallica from Rochester that befriended them on the show.
Wow.
Rob Thomas and Andrew Robleski, and both of these guys had a stack of pictures like this from the recording of Kill 'Em All
Wow.
that eventually made it to Dan Braun and the Metallica people. We got in touch with Mark Ryder. Sent an email, granted us the interview, but then because we had so much Kill 'Em All info and all that, because we were around during
Yeah.
that he got us in touch with Adam and Jack Gulick, and Adam came to Rochester and we taped for 2 days.
Yeah,
Same thing.
Adam's a great guy. Great guy. And,
Great guy.
and when that documentary comes out, it's gonna blow people away. I mean, they think they know about Metallica, but this has got some stuff in it that's never, I say a lot of stuff that's never even been unearthed before. So, Metallica hired him, and they're smart for doing it. He knows what he's doing. For me, it's kind of interesting because I never thought 40 years later I'd still be talking about all those early days. But it goes to show you the music, just like for you, the music has stood the test of time. I mean, Metallica spearheaded it, but it's great, such a great movement that people are gonna be talking about thrash metal forever.
No, it's in our blood, man. It's not it's our DNA. It's what we do. So now talk about
Yeah.
touring. Where are you playing? Are you playing the States? Are you coming to the East Coast? I know it's tough in America. Any chance?
Yeah, but you know what's funny? You still got to do it. Like, I mean, that's what's great for me. I wouldn't still be doing this if I didn't know that we still got to do some of the tough work, and that's part of it. Like, part of being in a band is you got to not always do the pretty things, and you got to play some of the places that maybe there's 200, 300 people, which is still a good amount of people. I don't care what anybody tells you. If there's 200 to 300 kids there, you should go ape shit just like they're gonna go ape shit. But
Yeah.
we're going to do states. Obviously, there's certain areas that we, have to go to. We're starting out in Texas. Next week, we'll be at this thing called
Yeah, Hell's
Hell's
Heroes.
Heroes, which is a great festival. Throughout the year, we'll be doing more stuff. We're doing also Maryland Death Fest, which is a really good one this year. We're going to be going up to Seattle. I mean, the tour dates are up on all the social networking websites, so people can check there, all the Hirax Facebooks and Instagrams and even TikTok and all that other crap. So we're out there. But yeah, we're going to be doing some states, and then we'll go back to Europe. We'll go back to South America, and then we're going to definitely eventually get over to Japan. The record just came out in Japan. We're pretty fortunate that we get to go to these different countries, even
Yeah.
Mexico. We've been going to Mexico for a lot of years, and we have a great fan base there. But the states, it matters a lot too. The U.S., whether it's California, because there's Northern California, Southern California, so we'll be touring all over the states as well. Get back to the East Coast too, New York and Rochester, which the last time we were there, we froze our asses off. A lot of people, if they've never been to Rochester, they got to realize during the winter, holy smokes.
Yeah, it's fucking fine. You know, it's
That's because you
fine.
live there. If you're from
30.
Southern California, if you're from where I'm from Sun, all right, whether it's nice and sunny and warm, you get out to Rochester, you're like, dude, it's balls cold. You're just used to it.
It's not Antarctica. It's in the 30s. It's fucking fine. My partner in all this, Metal Walt, he's in East Hanover, New Jersey. So 2, 3, 4 times a year, I'll take the 4-hour ride, go down there. We'll go into the city. We see tons of shows. So if you make it down there, we'll get out. We'll get out to a show.
That's awesome. No, it's funny. I loved Rochester. I just, like I said, I'm a California boy, so it was a little chilly
Yeah.
for me. It's great
What?
up there.
Well, yeah, but and also the logistics of touring.
Yeah,
You got to do routing. You're not going to come here for one show, but
yeah,
if you got a Cleveland, you got a Pittsburgh date, maybe we'll do something. So,
yeah.
all right, again, the album Faster Than Death on bigcartel.com. Get
Yep.
up there. Is that the best place to get it?
Yeah,
Big
for right
Cartel.
now, yeah. I'd say, the thing that's cool about Big Cartel, it's easy to find. So if you go to, it's Hirax or Big Cartel Hirax, just punch it into your search engine. It'll come up. I don't even know if anybody uses search engine, that word anymore, 'cause that's how old school I am. But
Yeah.
just punch it into like Google, Big Cartel Hirax, and you can buy the record there. We just started shipping them out this last week, and we're doing more today. Actually, once I get done with this interview, it's back to packaging up more records, which is great because we're still involved in all that. Like we make sure the quality's there. When people get this new record, they'll notice the quality's amazing on every format: CD, cassette, and vinyl. We did it right.
And let's do it right by buying from the band. Sure, go check it out and stream it and listen to it, but go buy it. Buy
It's awesome.
directly from these guys because
It definitely keeps the bands going.
yeah,
Like a lot of people don't realize that, every penny helps the bands, whether it's touring or buying more equipment or, going back into the recording studio to do a new record. So it's really appreciated, and it's great that the fan base is still there. A lot of people, like even the orders that are coming in the last few days, it's just people buying directly from the band, wanting their music shipped directly to their house, you know.
And I noticed at this bigcartel.com, besides the release, there's merch there. Get a Hirax shirt. There's special edition 40 anniversary stuff. There's tons of stuff there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? It's time for you to get back to work and prep some of that package. All right. For my guest, Katon, I'm the Vernomatic, and this is Metal Mayhem ROC. We'll see you soon.
Stay heavy, everybody. Metal till death.
That's right.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.